All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to completely dissect the brilliant, incredibly dark Bengali detective story Goyenda Bikram, written by Sanjeev Sinha. Today, we're breaking down a high-stakes, locked-room mystery that honestly goes so far beyond your standard whodunit. We are talking about a deep web of power, deep-seated prejudice, and a vengeance so perfectly calculated it's going to leave you absolutely hooked. Together, we're going to map out exactly how a suspended detective untangles all this elite corruption. So if you are ready to explore the darkest shadows of Kolkata, let's get right to it. You know, there is just a profound, almost terrifying irony in these four words: knock, mock, and shock. This was the famous catchphrase, and literally the title, of the massively popular weekly column written by our victim, Karuna Prasad Mukherjee. He was the extremely powerful editor-in-chief of the Free Press Express. For decades, Karuna used this exact mantra to absolutely destroy reputations and shock his readers to their core. But the killer totally flipped the script on him. As we start unpacking how this murder went down, it becomes undeniably clear that the assassin brought Karuna's own theme to life in his final moments. The killer didn't just want to take his life, they wanted to make a very loud statement. And wow, the crime scene inside his locked antechamber proves just how twisted that statement really was. It is bizarre, it's gruesome, and it is intensely humiliating. The editor was found with his pants unzipped down to his knees. The murder weapon? A transparent pink bra used as a ligature to strangle him, while other women's undergarments were actually stuffed into his mouth. But here is the detail that's going to keep you up at night. Karuna's eyes were literally bulging from his skull, fixated right on the ceiling with sheer, unimaginable terror. The detectives even noted that the strangulation alone wouldn't cause this specific look. It was like he had seen a ghost. So the absolute central question of our entire explainer is right here. What terrifying thing did Karuna see right before he died? Now, to really grasp this murder, we have to understand the intensely personal dynamic between our victim and the lead investigator. It's like a clash of two entirely different worlds. On one side, we've got Karuna Prasad Mukherjee, a wealthy elitist, a master blackmailer, and quite frankly, a notorious sexual predator who used his media empire as a shield for his dark fetishes. On the flip side, we have Detective Motilal Mistri. Mistri is a suspended chief detective from a Dalit background. His dad was a hardworking stonemason, and years ago, Karuna actually used his newspaper to publicly insult Mistri's heritage, basically mocking how a mason's son could possibly have the brains to catch killers. Now, this brilliant, underprivileged detective is literally the only person who can solve the elitist bully's gruesome murder. I mean, talk about poetic justice, right? But here's the catch. Mistry shouldn't even be touching this case. He's officially suspended from the force. However, there is a massive secret mandate at play behind the scenes. The chief minister, who happens to be an old college buddy of the victim, knows the local police are probably going to completely bungle a case this sensitive. So he hands Mistry a covert, completely off-the-books order to hunt down the killer. To pull this off, Mistry leans heavily on his ultra-trusted inner circle. Bikram, who is this fiercely loyal ex-commando, doing the heavy lifting on the ground, and PG, an absolute genius hacker currently chilling in Denmark, providing unmatched digital overwatch. This trio is basically operating totally in the shadows, taking on the city's corrupt elite. When we actually map out the timeline, a picture of a highly calculated assassination starts to emerge. The killer was working with a razor-thin 30-minute window. Think about how tight that is. At 2:30 p.m., an actress walks into Karuna's antechamber. At 2:40 p.m., she gets a frantic emergency call claiming her mother just had a heart attack, which was totally fake, by the way, forcing her to run out of the room. Just 5 minutes later, at 2:45 p.m., CCTV from a really low-profile back gate catches a mysterious, burqa-clad woman roaming the floor while all the cleaning staff happen to be away. By 3 p.m., Karuna is dead. Actually, let's be clear, this was not some random crime of passion. This was the surgically orchestrated hit, which screams of deep insider knowledge. So you're probably wondering, who actually had the access and the motive to pull this off? Let's build out our murder board for a second. First up, we have Sudev Prasad, Karuna's own son. His motive? We're talking deep financial and personal hatred, which we'll dig into in just a second. Next is Sanchu Datta, who is essentially Sudev's lapdog, running all his dirty errands around the office. And finally, that unknown burqa woman from the CCTV footage. Was she just a distraction, an accomplice, or the actual killer herself? Looking at this matrix, Mistry's team connects the dots pretty fast. They are dealing with a highly coordinated inside job. Someone with serious power is pulling the strings here. And guys, the stakes are infinitely higher than just some bitter family dispute. Thanks to PG's insane hacking skills over in Denmark, they managed to crack into a hidden folder on Karuna's personal laptop. It's titled Project X-Rated. And wow, this hidden folder completely exposes the victim's true insidious nature. Karuna wasn't just a tough newspaper editor, he was a master blackmailer. This folder was absolutely loaded with explicit, highly compromising footage of Kolkata's elite. We're talking top politicians and major celebrities. Karuna was practically holding the entire city hostage. So that list of people who might want him dead, it just went from a few angry family members to literally half the city's power brokers. Let's zoom in on our prime suspect for a minute, his son, Sudev Prasad. The psychological motive we're looking at here is just staggering. Sudev was actually an illegitimate child, born to a woman named Beauty, whom Karuna completely abandoned. In fact, Karuna banished a young Sudev to a remote boarding school in Dehradun for one incredibly cruel reason. The boy looked exactly like him, basically serving as a walking reminder of Karuna's own sins. But Sudev, he didn't break. He hustled and built his own massive shadow empire in textiles, coal, and software. He absolutely despised his father and was desperately trying to force him off the Free Press Express company board. Hatred, endless money, and a thirst for power. It's literally the ultimate deadly cocktail. Well, Sudev's camp definitely knows Mistry is closing in on them. Early one rainy morning, while Mistry is just out taking a walk, this taxi comes absolutely speeding by. Someone leans out and throws a rolled-up piece of paper wrapped in a handkerchief right at his feet. Mistry unrolls it, and it's a warning letter, literally scrawled in red ink, demanding he drop the investigation immediately or end up exactly like Karuna. But this right here is a crucial takeaway about Mistry's character. Given his hardscrabble background and a literal lifetime of surviving extreme prejudice, the guy is completely unfazed. He literally just laughs it off. This is a man who operates like he has absolutely nothing left to lose. Okay, this is where the story injects a really fantastic bit of irony. The killer's team totally thought they were being slick with that drive-by threat. Spoiler alert, they weren't. Look at this comparison here. On the left, we have Santu Datta, the bumbling hitman and corporate lapdog, dropping clumsy threat letters out of windows. On the right, we have Master G. Master G is this eccentric 52-year-old, slightly overweight taxi driver who proudly claims to run the, quote, taxi universe. Well, Master G instantly recognized Detective Mistry on the street that morning. So what does our heroic taxi driver do? He spends the entire day secretly tailing Santu Datta across the city, snapping incredibly clear photos of his every single move on a completely cracked smartphone. The highly paid hitman got totally outsmarted by a random, incredibly observant cabbie. You really can't make this stuff up. So, armed with Master G's photos and all the digital blackmail evidence, Mistry's team decides it is finally time to force the enemy's hand. The pacing of the investigation just explodes right at this exact moment. The time is exactly 9 p.m. Up until this very second, the powerful family and the corrupt local officials have been feeding the public this total lie, saying Karuna died of a sudden natural heart attack. But at 9 p.m. on the dot, PG, our hacker over in Denmark, bypasses every network security protocol and leaks the actual gruesome unedited crime scene photos to literally every major national news channel simultaneously. The impact of that leak is instantaneous. The cover-up is entirely, irreversibly shattered. Millions of people are suddenly looking at these evening news broadcasts showing the pink ligature, the utter humiliation, the bulging eyes of terror. The public absolutely erupts. And the police? They can't lie anymore. The whole heart attack narrative is completely dead in the water. And honestly, this just proves Mistry's tactical genius. By deliberately orchestrating this massive media spectacle, Mistry rips off the political handcuffs that were holding his investigation back. He is officially given a totally free hand by the chief minister to openly interrogate this incredibly powerful family and just tear through the Free Press Express offices without needing to ask anyone for permission. With total, unrestricted access finally granted, Mistry and Bikram immediately rush right back to the scene of the crime, Karuna's antechamber. The tension in this room is just palpable. They lock the heavy wooden door from the inside to make absolutely sure nobody interrupts. Mistry positions himself exactly where the body was found. He's looking up, desperately trying to recreate the victim's exact final line of sight. And then, Bikram spots it. Right behind this heavy wooden almirah, the plaster on the wall is freshly chipped. Someone had been accessing a hidden panel. Mistry reaches his hand in, his fingers grazing the cold stone, until he feels it, a cold, hidden metal lever. He presses it down, and with this incredibly loud, grinding crack, the solid wall slowly begins to swing open. And right there, Before them lies a pitch-black, hidden tunnel leading deep into the unknown architecture of the building itself, which leaves us with the ultimate, chilling question. Where in the world does this dark tunnel lead? Was the killer literally waiting inside it the whole time? And most importantly, as that wall slowly slid open on the day of the murder, what terrifying, unthinkable secret emerged from the darkness that caused a total monster like Karuna Prasad to die with his eyes bulging in absolute horror? That is the dark mystery has to walk into next. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. The architecture of a crime is always so much deeper than just the surface. So, what do you think is waiting for them in the dark?